Captain, I've noticed a pattern of unusual sensor echoes. They are indicative of the recent use of a cloaking device.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Hostile ship decloaking! I've got a new contact. Hostile.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't played too many Star Trek games of late, but there were two that really stood out for me growing up. The first one was Star Trek 25th Anniversary. It was for the PC, made by Interplay Games in the early 90s, and later on in the early 2000s I played the first-person shooter Star Trek Voyager Elite Forces. Now this latest game in the franchise was announced last year, back at E3 2016, a long time in the making, and I got a first sneak peek at it back then. Now that it's here, can it go to where no other Star Trek game has gone before? So essentially in Bridge Crew, you play one of four positions on the bridge of the USS Aegis. That's the captain, the tactical, the helm, and engineer. And it takes place during the time of the original Star Trek series, so that's Captain Kirk and Spock. You'll even see many of the vessels during that time period. The nice thing about the story is that it's non-linear and there are varying missions out there, and they consist of different things like rescue operations, combat missions, and deep space exploration. And this is good because no two missions are ever really alike. There's a lot of depth with the story. Looking at the visuals in the game, I'm not going to say I'm totally blown away by it. And yeah, it does recreate the look of the bridge perfectly, as if you were there, but I wouldn't say it's pushing the envelope in terms of the visuals. While most of the game is played from the first-person view of your crew member, you could actually go into a third-person view at any time and view the surroundings of the ship. For the most part, you're just seeing the same things over and over again. You're on the bridge, you see your fellow crew members, the panels all around you, and overall the visuals are pretty much middle of the road. I like to classify Bridge Crew as a simulation or role-playing game that can only be truly achieved with the aid of virtual reality. Like I mentioned earlier, you assume the role of one of four positions on the bridge, so that's the captain, the helm, tactical, and engineer. And the beauty about the game is that they all have their different commands and duties. And this is what makes the game unique, because teamwork is crucial when it comes to accomplishing missions. You can't just rely on one person. You have to have a cohesive effort in order to finish each mission. And you need a lot of patience in this game because there's a process to each and every action. For example, if you want to go somewhere, you just can't just press a button and magically get there. You gotta tell the helm to actually first map a course, and then the engineer needs to charge the warp coils. And when the helm finally has the starship positioned correctly on the map, you can finally warp. So it is kind of a process. While the game has a lot of depth to the roles of each crew member, the biggest disappointment I have is with the combat system, because it's all done on the automatic. You really don't have to do anything except to push a button, and then from there, even if you're not lined up straight with your enemy, your photon torpedoes and phasers will just eventually just hit them. Adding more fun to the game is the multiplayer aspect, especially when the single player campaign can be a little bit robotic at times, especially with the dialogue between the characters. Essentially, you join 3 other people online and you play through missions, and it's just a nice change of scenery because now you get to actually speak with other people. It's not robotic, and it can be hilarious at times when you speak to them, and definitely changes up the dynamics of the game.
What's up, mate?
Oh, I think
that's funny.
Yeah.
What's up, bud?
What's up, man?
Oh yeah, how you doing?
Good.
Hello.
Man.
Nice.
What's up, man?
Good.
Unfortunately, we did experience some drop connections doing this. Now, that can be attributed to many things, maybe a bug or just the system's not able to handle everything at full capacity, but we hope this gets better over time. And it's worth mentioning that online play supports different systems. So for example, I was using an Oculus Rift, and the other people playing along with me were using HTC Vives and PlayStation VRs. Now, as much as there's a lot of depth to the gameplay, the VR experience, in my opinion, is a bit more isolating because you can't really move around or explore the ship. You're mainly seeing it through a first-person view of your crew member, And then from there, you're just in the seated position at all times. So you could actually reach out to the panels that are in front of you or to your sides, but you can't technically move around, stand up, and explore different areas. Luckily though, the visuals, the frame rates, and just the overall responsiveness of the VR tracking makes for pretty good gameplay for long term without any issues of feeling sick or nauseous. So even though it's not the most immersive VR experience we've checked out, it at least paints a convincing picture of what it's like to be on the bridge of a Federation starship. You really can't get any more realistic than this game when it comes to the Star Trek universe, because it gives you a real dose of what it's like to be a bridge crew member. There is, however, a pretty steep learning curve initially, because you need to dive in and explore what each role is all about, because if you just go right into the campaign, you're not going to know what to do. Now, if you're expecting arcade or action style pacing, this is not a game we'd recommend for you, and in fact, you might find it a little bit on the boring side. But on the flip side, there's a lot of depth and diversity with this game. It boldly goes to where no other Star Trek game has gone before, but there's still room for improvement before we can firmly say it's the perfect Star Trek game. So for $50, it's a solid buy if you're a longtime fan of the series. I'll be honest, I thought this game was boring at first, but it definitely grew on me. So what do you guys think about it? If you guys want to learn more about Star Trek Bridge Crew, you could check out our website, VRSource, your source for all kinds of reality.